Act 2, Scene 11. Month 10. Hospital ward. Night. Lorca's bed is back in its original place, smooth and empty. Stephanie and Neil sit silently on their beds. They're still in street clothes because they've been up all night. Greg stands at the window, staring out at the black sky, softly singing some of long cast shadows to himself. Abruptly, his eyes harden. Striding to his nightstand, he begins throwing his things into his duffel bag. Stephanie gets up and starts pacing, her white toy cat tucked under one arm. Neil stays on his bed, too numb from shock to even be sad. Walking over to him, Stephanie urges, "Do something, Neil." "Do what?" he asks. "Tell him," she says, pointing toward Greg. "Tell him what?" "Tell him he's not supposed to go." Without moving, Neil says to Greg, "You're not supposed to go." "That's right. Neil and I agree." Walking toward Greg, she repeats, "You're not supposed to go." Greg keeps packing. "Give me one good reason to stay." "The medication. It helps manage the pain." Greg slings a shirt into his bag. "I'd rather die a free man in pain than a doped-up vegetable rotting behind a window watching the world go by." Stephanie holds up the white cat and wags one of its paws at Greg. "Just because it's moving doesn't mean it's more alive than you." "And what makes you think you'll be more free just because you're somewhere else?" Neil asks. Greg's voice rises. "Don't you understand? I can't live here anymore. Lorca didn't make a sound. She just slipped away in her sleep. If I stay, I'll be wondering every night which one of us is going to wake up dead. It makes me crazy. I've got to take control of my life. I need to grasp it on my own terms." "I don't think it works that way," says Neil. "Seems to me it tends to grasp us." Greg's eyes flash. "Yeah, you're right. Life grabs us and shakes us over and over until it defeats us. That's why I can't stay. This is where I found what I was looking for, and this is where life took her away. I need to get out of here." He zips his bag, grabs his guitar case, and starts to leave. Stephanie calls after him. "As if you won't see her in every sunset no matter where you go. You can't take off every time things get tough, Greg. Sometimes you have to make the hard choice to love, to stay." Greg stops, sets his things down, and walks back to her, giving her a hug. "Bye, Stephanie. Maybe someday you can forgive me." He turns to Neil and holds out his hand. "Neil." As Neil shakes it, he says, "You're not supposed to go." "Maybe not," says Greg, "but that's what I'm going to do. And I've got to get out before morning." "Why? You're not being held against your will." "I can't face Dr. C," Greg admits. As he moves to pick up his things, Stephanie steps closer, her eyes smoldering. "What about your commitment?" "What commitment?" "To her. To the project. You signed an agreement saying you'd be willing to be here to help her research. You promised." Greg's voice hardens. "I changed my mind." "But what if something happens to you and we aren't there to help? What if that happens, huh? What if Neil has an attack and I can't take care of him by myself? What if I have an attack? Have you forgotten how much you love me? I'm very important to you, remember? That's what you told me, and I believed you. Or have you changed your mind about that too?" "That's hurtful, Stephanie." "Like you're not hurting me." "I don't mean to hurt you. I still love you. I'll never change my mind about that. It's just... Have you really considered what you're going to? Neil asks. I have no idea, Greg says. It's an adventure. But you also have to consider what you're giving up, Neil says. Us, for example, and Dr. C. As for adventure, there's plenty of that here. I think you're not as interested in finding new places as in avoiding old ones where you think you already know the problems. Truth is, you don't know. Nobody knows but God, and He will help us. I'm tired of living in a box, Greg says. 4 walls, 2 toilets, 1 window. Stephanie frowns. It's not a box, Greg. It's not a box. It's a choice. We all made it with open eyes. That was before. Before what? Before I found out there's no hope at all. No future. No life. Nothing to hold on to. No way to go on. I can't take it. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Greg picks up his things and heads for the exit. Stephanie returns to her bed and sits on it sadly. The lights dim to darkness in the room. Neil and Stephanie remain motionless, as if time itself has been suspended. Alone in a circle of light, Greg walks purposefully towards his escape. But when he reaches it, he hesitates. Slowly, he turns around, quietly setting his things down on the floor. In that suspension of time, Greg struggles with his past and what he wants for his life now.
Oh, restless heart, you pad your way. You want to run, and I obey. I'm never sure what you're hoping to find. And do you know what we've left behind? I need to tell you now that I've lost my way. Oh, restless dreams, you call me on. I can't resist your siren song, but the night, it has no shame, and in its silence it screams a name. I need to tell you now that I'm lost and afraid. All the tears will dry somehow. I wonder now how that can be. Of all the ones who I have ever known, she's with me now, wherever I'll be. I never wanted to let her go. Oh, restless world, you've been my home. Your distant roads I've made my own. but the time goes by so fast. No matter how long it lasts, I need to tell you now that I miss those days. Oh, restless heart, you pack your way. I need to tell you now that I want to stay.
Greg takes a deep breath. Then, with quiet resolve, he picks up his things and walks toward his bed. The lights slowly come up in the room. Neil and Stephanie notice him, but say nothing. Neil opens a book and pretends to read. Stephanie picks up her toy cat. Greg sits on his bed and begins to unpack his duffel bag, neatly folding his t-shirts. Without looking away from his task, he says casually, "So, on level 12, where you have to get past the abysmal abyss? You can hit option at the last second, and that helps you grip better. But the longer you hold on, the more power you lose. You've got to be able to let go. Otherwise, you can't go on." He leans his guitar against the nightstand. Neil looks up at him, returning his gaze. Greg says, "So, are you ready for level 25? Neil stands up with a grin. "After being up all night? You bet. I do better with sleep deprivation." Stephanie rushes over and throws her arms around them. They laugh and hold each other in a joyful hug. The first faint light of dawn starts to spread across the room. Stephanie notices and moves toward the window.
"Hey, guys, look. The sun is coming up. I can see the sunrise."
"That's ridiculous, Stephanie," Greg says. "You can't see the sunrise from here. You're facing due west."
"But I can see it. In my mind. I remember."
"Researchers say that your subconscious remembers everything you've ever experienced. A memory from long ago can release the same chemicals." "Neil," Greg cuts in, "do you need to have a scientific explanation for everything?" "I like to have a scientific basis for how I deport myself through life. It gives me a sense of security and truth." "There's a lot more to life than science," Greg says. "And science is based on observations and theories which, by the way, can change with new information. So, all things considered, I prefer a little mystery in my life." "Fair enough," says Neil. Greg and Neil join Stephanie at the window. Greg stands quietly for a moment, his eyes scanning beyond the horizon. Then, pointing, he says, "Oh, yeah, you're right, Stephanie. I can see a little magenta over there, just under the cobalt blue. And some vermilion, right there in the middle." Stephanie begins to sing, and Greg joins in, then Neil. Standing together, they sing a harmony of hope and new beginnings.
I can see the sunrise, smell the morning breeze. I can hear the wind laugh, dancing in the trees. Patterns in the clouds that pass, ripples on the pond. Little flowers growing, close and far beyond.
I have found my romance, someone truly mine. I have friends who love me. I won't leave behind. We have roads to travel on.
Roads that lead to home. Love and precious memories are all I'll ever own.
It helps when we remember to look at life that way, to cherish every day. Life is still a mystery, hard to understand. Do I have a purpose? Could there be a plan? Will there be another side? Someplace I can go till this life is over? How am I to know?
We may join the journey now. Can we know the way? Will we have tomorrow? Will we have today?